Okay, welcome back. This is part two. We're starting towards the end of actually week two, but we're going to move forwards now and we're going to introduce some facial controls on our character. Just to recap on where we left off from last week, basically you should now have a character modeled, okay, and you should have the joints in place and you should have the controls created. So I have a main control down here that'll move the whole character. I have one control here that moves a couple of joints from the top here. These are parented. Remember, we use constraints, a parent constraint, and that's constrained into this control, which is the circle. The other aspect, when you create a control, make sure you're in rigging and you go modify freeze transforms once it's in place. Okay, I'm just going to rotate this one. There you go, so it's working. Alright, and the other thing I want to mention before we move forwards is regarding skin weighting. So this one here, I have a proxy mesh. Remember to create the proxy if you're interested. You don't have to, but you can go mesh, smooth proxy, subdivision proxy, and that creates a heavier mesh. Okay, a lot more higher resolution mesh. And this original mesh, which was this one, watch this, I'll just delete this one quickly. This is my original mesh, and it is actually driving that other mesh, the underlying mesh. Okay, so I'm still painting the skin weights on this cage or this low res mesh. So to paint the skin weights, I simply select the mesh. Remember, right click and go paint skin weights tool. That opens up the window, and you should have named your joint. See, whenever I click a joint in here, it will show you the corresponding joint that I'm going to paint. Okay, and you use basically replace if you want to remove any area of influence, or add if you want to add influence. Just make sure with replace I always have value set to 0. Then you add a little bit of opacity, so this is your strength here. Okay, but 0 will be removing it, replacing it. Now if you want to add some influence, you click add. So let's try just quickly. I always tend to put the control into a position like this. Let's say if I didn't want to have so much influence, or let's do another one. Let's go here in this tail here, and I'll bring this. This one's not actually connected, so we'll connect it as well. So I want this one to drive, say, this joint here. So I will select the control first, and then I'll select the joints. It might be several joints. It could be all of these, right? But I just want this end one. So I'll go select the control, shift select the joint, and then you'll come to where are we? Better change into rigging, and I'll go constrain, orient constraint, or parent constraint. Okay, I'll go into parent constraint. So I'll go options, make sure maintain offset is checked, then go apply or add. Now test it straight away, so I'll test it with a rotate, and yes, it's working. Okay, now the beauty of parent constraining is you can also move it, and it'll move with it. Okay, now if I had have used instead an orient constraint, let's just try an orient constraint instead, just to show you. So there's no constraint. Let's come in, we'll select this one first, shift select the joint or joints that you want to constrain. This time I'll go constrain orient constraint. You'll notice, yes, it orients, great, but now it does not move. It won't move with it, see? So parent constraining has its advantages. Okay, just be aware of that. So I'll go back now and I'll do I better first up I'm going to, before I constrain it, I'll go modify freeze transforms so they're at 0. Okay, that and I'll use a parent constraint. Constrain parent. Okay, great. So now let's paint the skin weights of the tail. So I always put it into a position like this or this first. Okay, it's not too bad actually, but maybe I just wanted to adjust it, not so much influence here. So I select the mesh after I've put it into a position, right click, paint skim weights tool. And now you go through your list until you find which one it's influencing. I can use my up down arrow keys and this one, that one. Okay, so I'm going to remove some influence here. So I'll go replace 0 and I'll start painting it. Just a little bit. When I'm happy with it, I'm happy with the influence, I often like to go to smooth and just tap flood 1 or 2 times, just a little bit to help smooth the transition between those. Okay, hit W to get out of the tool, and now I'm back. So I'll put this one back to 0 up here because I freeze the transforms before. It comes back to 0. Great. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so in this lesson, what I want to move over, what I want to discuss now is setting up facial controls. Let's say you've got your eye in place. When you create an eyeball, make sure that the pole or the center, see how they all converge here to this point? Make sure that's pointing forwards. Okay, yeah, because think of that like a pupil for an eye. Okay, so you should have an eyeball in place like that, and I've just simply copied that eyeball 2 times, and I've just removed the faces to create a little eyelid twice, and I moved the center pivot holding D. I moved it so as it's in the center of the eyeball, so it rotates around it. I also scaled this one up slightly and this one, and now they should rotate like that. Okay, so I can get a blink happening. So ideally, I would now create a control for the top and bottom eyelid. Okay, so I could simply go create NURBS primitives circle, and I'll just scale this up so as we can see it. I'll bring it up into place. So it's about positioning this around the top of the eyelid. I won't create both of them, I'll just create one. Around here. I'll rotate it a bit. So this will be the top eyelid control. I'll bring it down a bit. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time getting this perfect in place, etc., but something like that. You better name it, so I'll call this eyelid top control, CTRL. Okay, I better freeze the transforms, so I'm going to go modify, freeze transforms. Good. There it is. So for this one to rotate with that, I will select, let me just check that these two are going to work together. I will go this one first, shift select this one, and by the way, I better make sure first that this is in fact central. So D doesn't really matter too much. Well, let's just check it. Grab this, grab that. We're going to go constrain, orient constraint. This time I'm not going to use a parent constraint because I only want this to orient. I don't want to move that eyelid around. So I'm going to go orient. Let's test it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be off. Oh no, there we go. There we go, working. So there you go, like that. And then this control, you really need to parent it into the hierarchy. So I'll probably parent it to this one, or to a head control if you have a head control. So just a normal P. I'll just select this, shift select that, and just go P. So it's now parented into it, and it should move with it. Yes, it does. Okay, good. So there you go. That's a blink control. Okay, so next up, let's talk about creating facial controls. Let's get our character. I'm going to just show you an example. I've got some controls already here. Here's an example, and let's get the lip control, for example. It moves the lips whenever I move this control up and down. Okay, so how do we achieve this? Well, basically, this control, it's using what's called a set-driven key, and basically I just created another circle like I did before. I scaled it down and I positioned it. Okay, and what is this driving? Think of this like a steering wheel in a car. It's driving this shape, which is a blend shape. Okay, so I'm going to delete this and we'll create one from scratch. I'll even get rid of that controls. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to show you how I created the blend shape. So I'm going to go to in here, sculpting tab. See sculpting? And along the very first purple button, which is basically called the shape editor, you click that and you'll notice in here I have one called smile. It's already created. Let's just get rid of all these just for now. So you'll come in and it'll look like this inside the shape editor. Remember, shape editor is right here. Click that. So to create your first blend shape, you need to click create blend shape and then straight away click add target. Okay, this is our library and everything that we create will be under that. So this one's called body 2. Let's just rename that. I'll call this one smile. Like that. Now do you notice how edit is all red? That needs to be red because we need to create the shape. Okay, so to create your shape, you could either use some of these tools here to pull, etc. What have we got here? Pull a single vertex. If I click this one, and then you can start adjusting things like that. See? All right. Alternatively, whoops, I'll get out of that. You could come in here, and you could actually come in here, and then adjust the vertex like that. Then I could hit B, my soft modification tool, see? So let's just see if it's actually working. Oh, no, I'm driving the wrong area, sorry. I wanted to select this mesh, not that one. This, yes. Okay. Okay. Let's try it again. There we go. So bring this one down. There's a weird sort of, I'm doing this very quickly, but you'd take your time and you'd start to finesse these. So there's a funny little smile. Now to test it, I'll turn off edit and I'll bring this one up and down. There we go. See, it's working. Okay. Okay, so now, because it's called smile, I could create many of them. I could have smile, sad, blink, puff cheeks, etc. Okay, I just keep adding a target here like that. But for now, we'll just run with one. We'll run with that smile. So I'll get rid of the other ones over here. So smile. Okay, I'll close this now. Get out of here. So now we're going to create the control. I'm going to go create another NURB circle. I'll move it over, bring it up, and I'm just going to put this near the face. I'll rotate it, something like that. I'll make it a little bit larger just so as we can all see this. I'm going to freeze the transforms on this. Modify, freeze transforms. Okay, so we need this to drive our blend shape or the smile. So how do we do that? We need to change into animation menu, and then you need to go key, set driven key, set. Go to the options, and this brings up this little window. In here you got driver and driven. Now remember I mentioned, think of it like you're a driver on a bus with your steering wheel. Here's our steering wheel. So this is our, let's load the driver down here. There it is. And we want to move up and down. So it's going to be translate Y. Make sure you select that. Now driven is going to be, we select our mesh, and then in the right hand side under inputs, look for blend shape. There it is. Now select load driven. There's our blend shape. Click the blend shape and you'll have smile. There it is. So I'm ready to key it. I'll go key once, just straight away go key. Now we need to move our shape into position. So I think there is an order to selecting them. I take this one first, I think, put that into position, and then I need to move the blend shape. Here's our blend shapes. Bring that up, and then, so here's our blend shape, remember, I'll put that there for now. And I'll hit key for a second time. So does it work? Yes, it does. So there we go. You can see this circle or control is driving our blend shape. Just remember, first you key it once without anything selected, then you move the control down a little bit, you bring up the blend shape, and then you hit key again. Okay, so have a go at creating a couple of controls, and basically after that it's all about animating. Now we always animate with the controls. You don't select the mesh, you don't select the joints, you don't animate the joints. You could actually hide them, Control H, you could, and then you always animate simply the controls. So on frame 1 I could hit S, on frame 10 I could bring this down and hit S. Now it's animated. I could pause it and bring it back a little bit. There we go. I could also make him grab this head control, and I could hit on frame 1 S, frame 10, or maybe here, frame 10, he could start to rotate his head a little bit, and S. So there we go. Now he's animated. Okay, so have a bit of a go at animating your character afterwards. Say about 100 to 200 frames of animation. Okay, thanks for watching.